This is a story about a lady I encountered a week ago at church and how I was the light to her day that day, and how important it is that we are of service to others. Our walk with Christ goes far beyond your own self growth and discipline, far beyond reading your Bible and going to Mass. It's so important that we are of service to others, that we daily seek who we could help and what we can do and how we can be a blessing to somebody else. And this goes for pretty much anybody you encounter. It could be somebody at the grocery store, somebody at work, and of course, family and friends always fall into that category. So we had gone to the chapel. We had gone to confession on last weekend, and when we were there, I noticed a lady. She was about in her 80s, and she had her little walker, and she was there by herself, and she's trying to find out when Mass was going to start. So I went ahead and got the information for her. I said, here, why don't you wait here? Let me go find out. Let me get some information. And I came back and I let her know. And so she was really grateful that I was able to get the Mass times for her. It was still like more than an hour until Mass begun. And so after that, we continued to, my family and I, we prayed. We were at the chapel. She had left the chapel, and I don't know, she went somewhere else, and she was kind of like outside the chapel, kind of just hanging around waiting for Mass to start. So keep in mind, there were many other individuals there, and the lady, so we finished what we were doing, and it was already time to head home. And so before we left, I noticed the lady was like in the corner of the hall where there were many other individuals, and people were just kind of passing her by, not really interacting with her, not really, you know, as if she wasn't there almost. And so that brings me to my first point. When you are out in public, we tend to be so distracted. A lot of times we're not in the present. Our head is in the clouds, we're on our screens, and we're just not in the present. Try to be in the present. Look at your surroundings. See who you could greet. How are you doing? How's your day going? Just a welcoming smile can go a very long way. And so when we were leaving the chapel, she was out there again, and I gave her a warm smile, and I said, bye, like, have a good day, and she got close to us, and then she said to me and my mother-in-law, and she said that it was embarrassing for her, but that if we could please help her with her pants because they keep falling down, and she can't put the button in because her fingers were, I don't know the condition, the medical terminology for it. I don't know if it's like severe arthritis, but they're really crooked and she can't use her fingers. And so her little pants were like falling down, And so I told her, yeah, like, I can help you. We're about to leave, but let me help you real quick, and then, I'll catch up with my family. And so I proceeded to help her, and when I was done, I suggested to her, I was wearing like some like stretchy pants, like with the elastic band. And I said, you can always get yourself some of these. These are so convenient. I kind of just joked like, if you overeat, they're stretchy and you don't have to worry about the buttons. And to be honest with you, I don't like pants with buttons, to be honest. So it's crazy how God put me on her path, and God put her on my path, because I was able to like kind of talk to her a little bit more beyond like just helping her. And so she just kind of like smiled and she was laughing. She's like, yeah, that's a good idea. She was super adorable. And so I asked her for her name, and we introduced ourselves to one another. And so then after leaving, I felt like I wanted to do more for her. And I just, she touched my heart. She was telling me like, God puts angels on my path, and even though I'm alone, and I took the bus over here. It's been years since I come to Mass, and I needed to be here, and even though sometimes I struggle getting here, there's always angels on my path that God blesses me with, and so we're talking about God a little bit, and I was like, yeah, God never leaves us alone. He always provides for us. He knows our heart. He knows our intentions. And, thank you for letting me help you today, right? Because we are blessed when we can help others, guys. It's not like, oh, like, she won. Because, like, she was able to get help. No, actually, I felt more blessed because God was able to put this individual in my path that I was able to do something for, whether big or small. It's an act of kindness. And so then I felt it in my heart to do more. And so I said, you know what? Let me go get some information because mass was being held in a different building. And I said, let me find out if that building is open. If it is, then I'll walk with you over there so you don't have to walk by yourself. Oh, she was so grateful. So I went and found out that it was open. I saw that there was some individuals in there. So I went back and I got her and I said, hey, look, it's already open. Why don't I walk with you over there before I leave? That way, you don't have to walk by yourself. And then she couldn't believe it. She was just like, oh, you're so kind, like, but you're so young. Like, she couldn't believe that someone my age, younger, I'm not like the youngest, right? But a younger individual, younger adult, had that amount of kindness. She just couldn't believe it. And I said to her, you know why? Because God works through me. And when you have God in your life, kindness flows naturally, and that's how we should all be, I told her. And so as we were walking together, to the building where Mass was going to be held, I was speaking with her and she was saying, I asked her, do you have children? She said, no, I don't. I'm by myself. And he said, any siblings? She's like, yeah, I have sisters, but they don't bring me to church, and I really had been wanting to come. And so that's why I decided to take the bus. And I lost the rest of the footage. So continuation to the lady. So I ended up walking her to where Mass was being held, and we just continued to converse on God's goodness, and she was still in shock as to how someone so young could be so kind and show so much kindness. And so once we arrived at the building, I just made sure she got in safely and there was a seat for her. We said goodbye to each other, hugged each other, said we'd be praying for one another. We were both very happy and blessed that we have met one another. And my only regret now is not giving her my phone number. She didn't have a cell phone where I could have taken her number down, but I feel like I could have gone that extra step and left her with my telephone number in case she needed anything or to take her to get her pants. I told her I loved her. God is the love. Don't shy away from telling people you love them if you feel it in your heart, even if the way she touched my heart, I just felt it heavily to tell her, hey, like, I love you, thank you for letting me help you. And so anyways, I came home praying for her, and I've continued to pray for her. And, I just ask God that if it's his will and if it's meant to be, for him to put her on my path again so that I can then take that extra step that I didn't take that day. And so I'm sharing this story with you all so that, raise awareness, be in the present, be kind to even the people that you don't know, especially elderly. A lot of times they're by themselves, and sometimes when they receive help from strangers take advantage of elderly. When I initially came cross paths with the lady and she was looking for the Mass times, I feel that what I believe led her to feel comfortable enough to ask me for the help was that I made eye contact with her. I smiled at her, and then she kind of waved me down and asked me what she wanted to ask me. And so the second time around with the help with her pants, we had already engaged with one another. So I think that helped. But if I would have not made eye contact with her, if I would have not smiled at her, and I would have been just like everybody else, just passing her by, kind of almost dismissing her, I don't think that we would have been able to have that interaction that we had. So I hope this blesses your day, inspires you to go be a blessing to someone else. God bless y'all.